fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
Scream of tearing metal echoed in the void, a final agonized cry before the static swallowed it whole. My heart pounded against my ribs, each beat a drum of impending doom. I could feel the sweat trickling down my spine, the cold calculation of command warring with the primal instinct to flee. "Quiet watch, report," I barked, my voice tight with adrenaline and fear. My partner, Lysa, sat beside me, her fingers dancing over the run from whose comm panel uselessly. The quiet watch was gone. Gone. Thing was coming. I glanced at Lysa, her eyes locked on mine, a spark of determination burning within them. The scent of ozone and sweat filled the cramped cockpit of the last argument, a metallic tang that clung to the back of my throat. I slammed my fist on the armrest, the impact jarring through my augmented skeleton. "Damn it, Vorn, any visuals on what took down the quiet watch?" Negative, line Marshal crackled over the command net, Vorn's usual stoicism strained. "Sensors are breaking down, too much interference, but I see them. Thousands of them, small, fast, biological signatures. They're swarming like locusts devouring a field, like a cancer consuming a body. The Gnovian Swarm, this was it. I thought back to the briefings, the warnings, the simulations. We had prepared for this, but nothing could truly prepare us for the reality of facing the swarm. I remembered the words of our commander: the Gnovian Swarm is not just an enemy, it's a force of nature. It's a reminder that we are not the top of the food chain. I glanced at Lysa, her eyes still locked on mine. "All units," I barked, overriding the chatter on the net. "This is it, weapons free. Let's show these sons of bitches what happens when they mess with humanity. Gravebreakers hold the line, Hellwards screen the flanks, Skyreapers burn anything that flies, for Secundus, for humanity, for the fucking light." A roar answered me, a symphony of engines and railguns charging, the defiant battle cry of the 12th Heavy. My gaze swept across the sensorium embedded in the last argument's command throne, the overlays showing the rapidly approaching swarm. Tiny green blips erupting from the blackness, each one an individual threat coalescing into a wave. I could feel my heart racing, my mind racing with the possibilities. What if we couldn't hold the line? What if the swarm overwhelmed us? I pushed the thoughts aside, focusing on the task at hand. "Range 1,200 meters, Hale shouted, his voice clipped and professional. "Steady, steady, fire," the world exploded. Twin railguns roared from the gravebreakers, hypersonic slugs ripping through the first wave of the swarm, tearing through the darkness like a lover's caress. The sound was deafening, the vibrations of the railguns shaking the very foundations of the last argument. I felt the ship shudder, the inertial dampeners struggling to compensate for the recoil. The swarm was relentless, wave after wave of tiny, fast, biological signatures crashing against our defenses. I watched in horror as the green blips closed in, each one a reminder that we were outnumbered, outgunned, and outmaneuvered. But we had something the swarm didn't: our determination, our courage, and our conviction. We would not back down, we would not surrender. We would fight to the last breath in our bodies, to the last bullet in our guns. "Reload, reload, reload," I barked, my voice hoarse from shouting. "We need to keep the pressure on, we need to keep them back." Lysa's fingers flew across the comm panel, her eyes locked on the sensorium. "I'm trying to raise the quiet watch, but there's too much interference," she shouted back. "We need to give them more time." I nodded, my mind racing with the possibilities. We needed to hold the line, to give the quiet watch time to recover, to regroup. We needed to keep the swarm at bay, to prevent them from overwhelming us. The railguns roared again, the sound echoing through the void. The swarm was endless, a never-ending tide of green blips, each one a reminder that we were fighting for our lives. But we would not back down, we would not surrender. We would fight to the last breath in our bodies, to the last bullet in our guns, for Secundus, for humanity. For the fucking light, the battle raged on, the sound of railguns and explosions echoing through the void. I watched in horror as the green blips closed in, each one a reminder that we were running out of time. But I refused to give up. I refused to surrender. I would fight to the end, to the last breath in my body, for Secundus, for humanity, for the fucking light. The world exploded again, the sound of railguns and explosions echoing through the void. I felt the ship shudder, the inertial dampeners struggling to compensate for the recoil. The swarm was relentless, wave after wave of tiny, fast, biological signatures crashing against our defenses. But we held the line, we fought back, we refused to surrender, and in the end it was not the swarm that emerged victorious, but us. The 12th Heavy, the last argument. We had fought to the last breath in our bodies, to the last bullet in our guns, and we had emerged victorious, for Secundus. For humanity, for the fucking light.